Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of one of the most stunning and, frankly, fiercely engineered structures in all of Japanese history. We are looking at the hidden truths of Himeji Castle. We'll be exploring its undeniable beauty, its sheer military brains, and, well, the lingering spirits said to still haunt its grounds. You know, when you look at Himeji Castle, it's just so easy to be completely mesmerized. With that brilliant white plaster exterior, it literally looks like a flock of graceful white birds taking flight, which is exactly why it earned the nickname the White Egret Castle. But what really hides beneath those beautiful white walls? I'm going to tell you right now, this elegant exterior, it's a total masterclass in deception. It masks a deadly labyrinth and centuries of dark, deeply human secrets inside. To really grasp its significance, we've got to jump back to the year 1993. That was the year Himeji Castle's unbelievable preservation, that brilliant white exterior, and just its unmatched structural mastery earned it Japan's very first UNESCO World Heritage status, right alongside Horyuji Temple. I mean, this place is a survivor. Unlike so many other fortresses that were wiped out by war, fires, or the Meiji-era edicts, Himeji stands today largely as it did over 400 years ago. It gives us this incredible, unfiltered look directly into the minds of its creators. Section 1, an impenetrable, hidden labyrinth, the deadly trap inside. So stepping past that gorgeous white facade, you instantly find a stark, almost shocking contrast between the castle's outward elegance and its militaristic interior. Make no mistake, this castle was built to be an absolute nightmare for any invading army. Attackers faced steep, U-turn staircases specifically designed to just kill their momentum. There were hidden gates placed perfectly in blind spots and deceptive dead ends everywhere. But honestly, perhaps the most brilliant psychological trick is the downhill paths. Think about it. As an attacker pushing toward the main keep, naturally you'd expect to be climbing up. But certain paths, like the route near the water gates, suddenly slope downhill. This was meant to entirely disorient invaders, making them second-guess if they've taken a wrong turn into a trap. And then there are the low-ceiling choke points. Now, what's really interesting here is a major misconception about these defenses. You'll often hear about ishiotoshi, or stone-dropping chutes. You know, Hollywood absolutely loves the idea of defenders dropping giant, crushing boulders on enemies. But the reality? Well, these chutes were actually quite narrow. They were sized perfectly for firing matchlock guns and arrows. So it was all about precise, relentless crossfire, not dropping cartoonishly giant boulders. And hey, remember those low ceilings and tiny hidden gates I just mentioned? Well, the number 155 is absolutely crucial here. The average Edo period Japanese male was only about 155 centimeters tall. The castle's internal dimensions were specifically scaled to that exact height. So imagine a samurai, fully geared up in bulky armor and a heavy helmet. They would find themselves severely bottlenecked, forced to stoop and squeeze through these tiny gates. It made them incredibly vulnerable targets. These defenses were so incredibly well thought out, so intimidating, and just so ironclad that it completely deterred any massive assaults. No one wanted to mess with it. That's actually why Himeji Castle is famously known in history as Fusen no Shiro, the castle of no war. It was literally never besieged. Its mere design was its greatest defense. Section 2, the tragedy of Senhime, the human heart of the fortress. You see, fortresses aren't just made of stone and wood, they're made of the people who lived in them. And Princess Senhime's story really anchors this massive 5,700-ton structure in raw human emotion. In the west bailey of the castle, there's this sprawling 300-meter-long structure known as the Heikenroka, or the 100-ken corridor. This was essentially the living quarters for Princess Senhime's many maids. When she married into the Honda family and moved to Himeji, she brought a massive dowry with her, 100,000 koku. This absolute fortune was used to build her lavish dressing tower right at the end of this very corridor. It was a place of peace where she prayed every morning for her family's prosperity. Yet, true to Himeji's nature, even this beautiful living space doubled as a defensive stronghold. It was lined with slits to fire weapons from, just in case the castle was ever attacked. Following Senhime's life journey, we see this incredible yet heartbreaking mix of high politics, fleeting joy, and profound sorrow. Married off to Toyotomi Hideyori at just 7 years old, she was rescued from a burning Osaka castle and widowed by age 19. She did find a love again, marrying Honda Tadatoki, and her time at Himeji Castle is actually recorded as the happiest period of her life. But tragedy just stalked her. Her firstborn son passed away at only 3 years old. and a few years later, her beloved husband died of illness at just 31. Devastated, having basically lost her entire family, she left the magnificent castle behind, returned to Edo, and lived out the rest of her life quietly as a Buddhist nun. Let's move to Section 3, Myths of the Main Tower, Tales from the Top. Shifting from true human tragedy, the towering main keep has also birthed some seriously incredible supernatural folklore. One of the most famous legends is the tragic tale of Sakurai Genbei. He was the master carpenter who dedicated 9 years of his life to building the main tower. Well, folklore says that upon completion, his wife pointed out that the tower tilted slightly to the southeast. Crushed by this perceived flaw in his masterpiece, the story goes that Genbei threw himself from the top floor with his chisel in his mouth. It's a dramatic, haunting story, right? But the actual architectural reality? Discovered during modern dismantling and repairs, it turns out the slight lean wasn't a calculation error by the carpenter at all. It was simply the east and west stone foundations naturally settling into the earth unevenly over the centuries. And the legends definitely don't stop there. The legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi is said to have confronted a supernatural entity right at the top of the keep. The legend goes something like this. Musashi climbs the pitch-black stairs holding only a single light. Suddenly, he experiences phantom fires, booming noises, and terrifying earthquakes. But completely unfazed, he simply puts his hand on his sword and the terrifying magic instantly vanishes. At the top, he meets a beautiful princess, claiming to be the spirit of the Osakabe shrine, who thanks him and hands him a legendary sword. But, in true mythological fashion, a later twist reveals it wasn't a divine spirit at all. Actually, scratch that, it was a shape-shifting trickster fox, a fox that Musashi ultimately saw through and chased away. Section 4. The Ghost in the Well, a chilling conclusion. Descending from the soaring heights of the main keep down to the lower grounds, we find a tonal shift into some deeply unsettling local folklore. Just imagine the castle at night. It's dead quiet, when slowly, from the dark depths of an old stone well, a weeping voice echoes up. 1, 2, 3. Just counting and counting, but never reaching 10. This is the story of Okiku, and it forms the basis of Banshu Sarayashiki, easily one of Japan's most famous and chilling ghost stories. The legend states Okiku was a maid who discovered a plot to overthrow the castle lord. The traitor, a man whose romantic advances she had firmly rejected, sought revenge, so he hid one of the lord's 10 treasured plates and completely blamed Okiku for losing it. As punishment, she was brutally tortured, murdered, and her body was thrown into what was then called the Tsurubari-do well. They say her spirit, unable to rest, returns every single night to count the plates, sobbing when she finds that the 10th is still missing. It's a terrifying story for sure, but let's look at the historical reality behind the myth. Why would such a specific, horrifying story center around this one specific well? Well, historians point out a pretty compelling theory. The well was highly likely a secret military escape route out of the castle. I mean, think about it. In a fortress heavily reliant on deception, what better way to ensure nobody ever snoops around your vital hidden escape tunnel than by spreading a terrifying rumor that it's cursed by a weeping, restless ghost? It was literally medieval counterintelligence at its finest. So, what does this all mean? The crucial takeaway here is that Himeji Castle is far more than just a beautiful historic photo opportunity. It's an architectural marvel built for war, but ultimately destined for peace. It's a monument to the towering genius of its builders, the heartbreak of figures like Princess Senhime, and the clever, eerie mythologies created just to protect its secrets. It really makes you wonder, if the walls of Himeji Castle could speak, would they brag about their impenetrable defenses? Would they weep for Senhime's lost family? Or would they whisper the military secrets hidden right at the bottom of Okiku's well? Keep that in mind the next time you look at a photograph of the beautiful white egret castle. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the history hidden right in front of our eyes.
What is it about Japan that captivates you? Please let me know in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you so much for watching.